morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm going to aim to use my super business powers to bust one of the more ridiculous theories I've seen regarding the Pokemon trading card game in recent months. Now, when I say super business powers, I'm referring to the fact that I spent about a decade and a half of my life teaching business, and teaching business, for anyone that is unaware, involves a ridiculous amount of researching business. Because you see, the thing about business is, although the theories generally stay about right, your examples kind of need to be updated for everything every year, because students don't really want examples from like the 1980s, they want examples of stuff that they know about right now. So you're constantly researching businesses, seeing how they work, and figuring out new ways to explain the same kind of things. So yes, I do think I know a fair bit about business, but this isn't some kind of empty boast. This is, I literally dedicated like a decade and a half of my life to doing this, so I'd like to think that that has actually given me the knowledge that I need. Now, the conspiracy theory that I'm hearing from a lot of people, which is ironic to me, because I heard the exact same conspiracy theory for the Digimon trading card game. I did do a video, incidentally, rebuffing that. I will link it in the description if you so wish. But the theory is that Pokemon are deliberately decreasing the supply of their products to build hype. Now, as someone who has been teaching business for a decade and a half, this makes no sense to me, and I'm going to explain, hopefully, in a fair bit of detail why it's a bit of a silly accusation. But, and to be clear, right, you might have seen on Twitter me talking to someone else about this. I have seen this from dozens and dozens of people. Please don't think this is aimed at anyone individually. I have seen this advocated by a huge amount of people. Now, what should really put an end to it is, of course, the explicit statement from the Pokemon trading card game, where they came out and said, yeah, demand is up and we're struggling with supply, we're doing the best we can. You know, they came out and said, some of you are experiencing difficulties purchasing certain Pokemon trading card game products due to very high demand and global shipping constraints impacting availability. Now, that statement alone should really end the debate here. The demand is very high at the moment, we know that, we can see that, and global shipping constraints are real. That should have been the end of it, really. But they went on, in situations where there is limited availability, we are actively working to print more of the impacted Pokemon TCG products as quickly as possible and at maximum capacity to support this increased demand. And it's going to be out as soon as possible. So again, if Pokemon were deliberately constraining supply to build hype, they probably wouldn't put out an explicit statement saying, we're printing as much as we can, as fast as we can, we're doing our best to get the product out there. It doesn't really work to constrain supply deliberately while putting out a statement that you are actively printing as much as you can and you're working to increase production because you're aware of the difficulties that people are having. Like, if you're deliberately constraining supply, you constrain supply. You don't up production and put a statement out saying you're upping production. It's kind of the opposite of what you want to do. So honestly, Pokemon have come out and explicitly said, yeah, we're doing this, right? You're aware that we're doing this. We know there's a problem, you know there's a problem, but we're printing as much as we can, we're going to have it fixed. But there are still a bunch of people out there that think they are deliberately constraining supply, and that's a little bit weird. Now, one other thing to think about is, this isn't the MO of Pokemon. This isn't what Pokemon do. Pokemon haven't done this in the past. In the past, we've had some sets that have been really popular and some sets that haven't, but Pokemon keep printing. And a great example of this is the Champions Path Elite Trainer Box. You see, the Champions Path Elite Trainer Box is a very, very, very popular product. Partly because it's got 10 packs of Champions Path and that set has 2 Charizards in, and partly because the Champions Path Elite Trainer Box has a promo Charizard in. And when we hit September, the supply of this was a little low because of the whole pandemic thing, and it was a massively popular product, and on release, the Champions Path Elite Trainer Box was just really difficult to find. But that was in September. Since then, several waves have been reprinted, and I have it on pretty good authority that another wave of those is coming into shops in the next few weeks. So, if they didn't do it for Champions Path, and they've explicitly said they're not doing it here, why do we think they're doing it here? Now, the argument I've heard, I've seen it compared to a bunch of things. I've seen it compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! I've seen it compared to sneakers, and all things along those lines. I really don't understand the sneaker market very much at all, but I have friends that are in the sneaker market, and essentially what I'm led to believe is that there are very cool sneakers that are released in very low numbers, and they are basically all bought by bots and sold on the secondary market for a huge amount of money. But supply there is actually genuinely low, and it does build hype. And I've seen people make that argument about the Pokemon trading card game, and to say that completely misunderstands the target market of the Pokemon trading card game. Now, if you run around in the big Facebook groups and you primarily play the game, etc., you are going to get a false look at the Pokemon trading card game. You are going to see the Pokemon trading card game as a game that is played by people in their 20s and 30s, and is collected and cards are sent off to be graded, etc. Those are the people you're going to see hanging around the Pokemon trading card game. Because I'll be honest with you, they're the people that I generally see. My biggest age segment that watches this channel is 25 to 34. So, if I was just looking at the people I interact with, I would get the impression that the Pokemon trading card game was played by 20 and 30-year-olds and collected by them, and people collect sealed product and grade cards, and, you know, it's kind of like big business. That is not the Pokemon trading card game. Now, that is what you might think the game is if you only look at it from one angle, and that's absolutely fine. That's not meant as any kind of criticism. It's just to say that we generally see things through our own lens, and we see it through our own experience, but that's not the Pokemon trading card game. The Pokemon trading card game is primarily bought by younger people. It's a kids game. It's aimed at kids. We all get outraged when we think the game is being simplified so that it's more accessible for kids, but then we all think that the game is aimed at an older audience. Well, both of those statements can't be true. To put it simply, Pokemon is not Magic. Magic the Gathering is a full-on trading card game. It is a trading card game that is played by people that want to play a trading card game, and there are collectors in Magic. Obviously, there are collectors in Magic, but Magic is a game primarily for players where you have a really, really strong player base all of the time, and that is the core of Magic. I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, the core of the Pokemon trading card game is not the players. The core of the Pokemon trading card game, and I don't have any inside knowledge, but I've studied business for long enough to know, is kids. And I can kind of prove this to you, because I talk about ICV2 and their list of top collectible games. They put this out every year. No, they don't. They put it out every 6 months. And every 6 months they put out their list, and essentially every single time, you see that the top collectible game in the hobby market is Magic, and the top collectible game in the mass market is Pokemon. What that basically means is that if you go into hobby stores, specialist game stores, etc., Magic is going to be number one. That is what is selling more. If you go into supermarkets and big box stores and general retailers, etc., Pokemon is going to be number one. That's the way it always is. Because the majority of the target market for the Pokemon trading card game is kids. Kids wandering around the supermarket going, "Hey, Dad, can I have an Eevee tin?" And then Dad, assuming, is a pushover like me, goes, "Yes, of course." Because I tell you what, right, when my kids are asking for Pokemon cards when they're older, the mum had better be there to say no, because I ain't going to be saying no to that. And that's where the Pokemon trading card game makes the majority of its money. That's where it all comes from. So if we for a second suggest that sometimes supply is deliberately constrained to build hype, and some companies do that, incidentally, it's a thing. You do that when you are trying to build a collector's market. But if you're doing that for Pokemon, what you're basically saying is, we are going to cater to the collector's market, which is a pretty small segment of our audience, and in doing so, hurt the much, much, much larger kids who buy Pokemon card segment. So there's no way Pokemon would do this. It makes absolutely no sense to cater to a small segment of your market at the expense of a significantly larger segment of your market. That is frankly just silly. So we've got the fact that the Pokemon trading card game and their audience does not lend itself to this tactic. We've got the fact that Pokemon do not have a history of doing this. And we've got the fact that Pokemon have come out and made an explicit statement saying supply is low because of the pandemic and demand is high right now. So yeah, it is hard to find products, but we are actively working to reprint as fast as we can. And that is not the actions of a company that are deliberately trying to constrain supply to build hype. Because that's the other thing we need to look at here, right? Pokemon are building hype. You'll notice sometimes you'll click on a video on this channel and a Pokemon advert, an official Pokemon advert will play, which always makes me very, very happy. Because Pokemon do buy ad space on YouTube, on appropriate videos, because that makes a huge amount of sense. At the moment, Pokemon are getting all up in their 25th anniversary celebrations, basically spending months or a year building up hype doing the 25th anniversary. That is a really good way to build hype, and they're doing a really good job with it. You may notice that some YouTubers who are significantly more popular and important than myself, like Leonhart, will actually be sent cards ahead of release by Pokemon to show off. That's how Pokemon are building up hype. Of course, does anyone out there actually think right now that Pokemon are trying to build hype aggressively for the Pokemon trading card game? They're doing their thing, don't get me wrong, they're doing what they usually do, but have you tried buying Pokemon cards lately? Have you seen the bare store shelves? Have you seen the online stores with all of their out-of-stock labels on all of their products? Demand is huge right now. In the statement Pokemon put out, they explicitly referred to the increase in demand. So even if, and let's be clear, they're not, but even if Pokemon did want to deliberately constrain supply in order to build hype, why would they do it during a time when the hype for the Pokemon trading card game was going absolutely nutty? That's like your friend buying you some chocolate like 2 days after Easter when you've already got a cupboard full of chocolate. It's a nice idea, but the timing doesn't really work very well now, does it? So hopefully that's kind of proven my point here. It's not how businesses like this work. It's not what they've done in the past. It doesn't make sense. And they've explicitly explained what's going on. I know people want the conspiracy theories, and I know the conspiracy theories are fun, and it's quite likely this is going to be a really popular video because people like engaging with the conspiracy theories. But I have seen, and seriously, so many people here and in Digimon talking about this that I had to come out and, use my super business powers to address it. And also, right, over in Digimon, it's a brand new game that's really hyped and we're in the middle of a pandemic. That's what's going on. Same thing's happening over here, ladies and gentlemen, except it's not a brand new game, it's just a really successful hyped game. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully now when somebody tells you that Pokemon are deliberately having low supply to try and build hype, you hopefully now have the ammo you need to go, actually, that doesn't make any sense, and here's why. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys. I want to know your Pokemon stories, and I want to know what Pokemon products you've been picking up, what you haven't been able to pick up, what you're going to pick up when supply picks up. Hit wordplay. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.